I want to talk about structuring deals right now, okay? Because I go to too many dealerships and too many deals that aren't submitted with the proper structures, or too many deals that have a better structure that can be formed if you simply have a conversation with your customer, or if you get involved in the structure of the deal as an F&I manager. Are you the type of F&I manager that allows your sales desk to send deals over through the finance portal to the lender? Because if you are, you're missing opportunity. If you're not at the sales tower assisting them in that structure. The bottom line here is, if a sales manager sends a deal over and structures the deal, they're working off of a simple structure that they get back, a call back from the bank. The top F&I managers in the country will restructure that deal based on information they gather from the customer. Now here's the problem we have in the industry. Too many deals are being started at $300 a month and zero money down, because those are the questions that the sales consultant asks the customer. Part of the needs assessment in most dealerships, because they haven't trained their sales staff to ask the right questions, the questions that the sales staff ask are, how much money you want to spend, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? And we know the answer to that. In fact, I can be in a dealership anywhere in the country, stand at the sales tower, and as a sales consultant's walking to the desk, I can tell the desk manager exactly what the sales consultant will say when he gets here. And this is how it goes down. The desk manager looks at the sales consultant, what do you got? And the sales consultant looks at the sales manager and says, I got a customer on this particular car. He wants to spend $300 a month with zero money down. Oh my God. And the next thing you know, we're structuring deals from the bottom of the barrel, trying to work up, when we should be starting the structure by teaching our sales staff to eliminate those questions. So when I talk about structure, it does all start on the showroom floor. As an F&I manager, I used to train our sales staff to stay away and avoid those stupid questions like how much you want to put down. How's your credit? I mean, come on, people know what their credit is today. The research that people do online is ridiculous. 80% of the deal is already done before the customer even contacts the friggin' dealership. That's how it's done today. We got to get up with the times. We got to reset or update our software, as I often say. So what do? We train our sales staff to avoid those questions and ask the right questions. Questions today should be like, what research have you done? What attracted this particular vehicle? What inspired you to want these particular options? And what inspired you to come to our dealership? And stay off those questions. Try to avoid the trade talk until it's the right time, until we land the customer on a car. That allows us to better structure a deal, because now we can send out payments, lease payments, cash payments from our criteria, not the customer's criteria. Because let's face it, it's pretty embarrassing for a sales consultant to walk up to the sales tower and say, my customer wants to spend $300 a month with no money down. And in order to get the $300, we got to tell this customer, you got to put 10 grand down. Or we structure a deal that's $740 a month with zero money down. And the customer blows up in the showroom floor and walks out the door because of the questions that the sales consultant asked. So let's get back to the structure part. I believe that F&I managers should be submitting deals over to the lender, because the sales managers should be structuring a deal based on the Monroney, based on the sale price of the car, and give the customer three choices: a cash choice, finance options, and lease options. And that's the way it should be done in every single dealership, because we know that the customer has done research. We got to find out what research the customer has done, and we do that by us starting negotiations rather than the customer starting negotiations. So the first step to a good structure on a deal is to train our sales staff to ask the right questions. The second step to a great structure is allow the sales tower to structure the deal, or set the deal up from sale price and offer the customer those three options I mentioned: cash, lease, or finance options. And we train the sales consultant, we load their lips. First pencil, Mr. and Ms. Jones, based on the vehicle that you're interested in, this is the sale price of the vehicle. There's three ways you can buy this car. You can pay cash, you can finance it. Here's the cash outlay, various scenarios regarding financing, various terms, down payment. Always end at 60 months. Max payment on the first pencil, 60 months. That gives the finance department an opportunity to go 66 or 72 months and sell more product. Always start with a minimum of $500, because if you start with zero, the customer's going to go to zero. Start 500, 1,000, 1,500. If you're in a Highline store, maybe start at 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, and always give them a lease option, the best lease option that's out there. Give them those options, because the rebates vary, everything varies, and load the sales consultant's lips to say exactly what I just said. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, there's a lot of information on this page. There's three ways you can buy this car, the car that you're interested in. You can pay cash, you can finance it, or you can lease it. Various lease payments with down payments and terms, and there's a couple lease options. Any questions? No? Okay, so which option works best for you? And the second pencil, maybe we get closer to what the customer wants. But by us starting the structure of the deal and not allowing the sales consultant to bring a customer to the desk and say they want to spend $300 a month, we have a better chance of making more money up front, and a better chance, if we stop at 60 months, to get the F&I managers involved and sell more product in F&I. F&I. So let's get back to sales managers versus F&I managers structuring deals. I've worked the sales tower, and I know if I get a customer and I send a deal over as a sales manager to a finance, a couple sources, I'm going to go with the best call. I'm going to work my deal based on that call and shut the F&I manager out, basically. So when they get the deal, there's not very far they can go, because I'm going to maximize the LTV that I get back and give the F&I manager no room to make additional profit. So how important is an F&I interview or an F&I introduction in gathering more information from the customer? Because I know as an F&I manager, I'll give you the scenario. When I was a sales consultant many years ago, and I would be working a deal, in order to hold my gross, and a customer said to me, I want a lower payment. In order for me as a sales consultant to hold my gross, I would go to the sales tower and I would say to the sales manager, my customer wants a lower rate. They never mentioned anything about rate, but I know if I get a lower rate from the sales desk, it will lower the customer's payment. I can close the customer and maintain the same gross for me and cut the finance department out. I had no concern for the finance department as a sales consultant, and we know that's true. Now, I become an F&I manager and I plant myself at the sales tower. Why do I stay at the sales tower as often as I can? Because I can assist in structuring the deals. Even if the policy or the culture at your dealership is have the sales manager submit the deals, I can stand right behind them and instruct them where to go and see those callbacks and give them advice or give them some direction to go and be part of that deal. Be part of manufacturing that deal. Be part of the architect in structuring that deal. Because if you're not part of that structure or you're not part of making that structure, you're going to lose a lot of momentum and you're not going to make as much. You're not going to maximize your potential on that deal. So stay at the sales tower, teach your sales consultant to stay off those stupid questions, and you'll have a better structure in deals. Now, let's get back to what I would do if I do get an 84-month payment. I would show the customer 72 months because I know how that deal was worked on the showroom floor. I know that the sales tower worked from $300 a month and got as close as they could to the $300, and they had to go 84 months on their first or even second pencil. I mean, how many deals are being structured at your dealership? First pencil out is 72 months. You got nowhere to go. And because you have nowhere to go, the customer get a sense that you're not willing to work with them. They get up and they leave. But if you stopped every deal at 60 months, you had a place to go. You get the F&I manager involved. So let's get back to the time when I was a sales consultant and I would go to the desk and ask for a lower payment by asking for a lower rate. Now I become an F&I manager. I'm at the tower. Same sales consultant walks up, says my customer wants a lower rate. I look at the sales consultant and I say, let's go talk to your customer. I step off the sales tower. I walk over to the sales consultant's desk, look at Mr. and Mrs. Jones and say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I understand you have some questions about the proposal or some concerns. You mind sharing those with me? And the customer looks at me and says, yeah, those payments are a little bit too high. Without hesitation, I look right at him and say, we can fix that. All you have to do is put a little bit more money down, or we can extend the term. But remember, if you start at 72 months or 84 months in your first pencil, as an F&I manager or even a sales manager or a sales consultant, you can't do that. And that's how you get better structure from deals. By limiting your first pencil to 60 months, minimum $500 down payment, and sharing with the customer the 3 ways they can get into that car: cash, finance, or lease, and show them various options. And when you do, as an F&I manager, get that 72-month payment in your office, offer them 76 months, 75 months, 84 months. Reduce it back down to 60 months. Because sometimes the customer will look at you, go, 72 months, 60 months, it's only a $40 difference. I can afford that. Worst case scenario, you show those 2 options on your F&I menu when you do a presentation, and the customer says, whoa, I can have $50 worth of products for 72 months, what I was paying for the 60-month payment, and you end up selling product. Structuring deals is finesse. And in order to gain finesse, you have to learn something about that deal. And the best way to learn something about that deal is to be part of the deal as it's being manufactured or being consummated. And once it is consummated, you go out and you congratulate that customer. You have formed a connection with that customer before they even step foot in your office. And now you talk with them and you ask them questions. Let's take a lease for an example. A customer is leasing a vehicle, 36 months, 15,000 miles a year. I think 1 or 2 of the questions that you should ask your customers, how often do you lease? And they tell you, every once in a while. I think, well, I always lease. Do you ever exceed the miles on your lease? And they say, well, I do oftentimes. Well, maybe you want to extend the lease to 18,000 miles rather than 15. That gives you a chance as an F&I manager to restructure that deal and make a little bit of money. What if they say, no, I never go over my miles. In fact, I only go about 12,000 miles a year, but we'll go to a 10,000 mile a year lease. You can restructure those deals by asking the right questions. When you're talking to a customer and they're credibly challenged or they're credit criminals. Have that credit interview with them. Look at their credit bureau and ask them, what happened here? Each line in the credit bureau. What happened here? Why did it happen? What you do to fix it? And why won't it happen again? And then create a seed of doubt when they give you that explanation and say to them, if the lender were to ask for more money down, are you in a position to do that? And the customer says, yeah, I can put a little more money down. You just made some more money. If the customer says, no, I can't put any more money down, ask them if they have the first payment. We can use that as a down payment. And they say, well, I can do that. Or they say, no, I can't do that. We got a problem. The fact of the matter is, don't just take the deal, send it over to your finance portal, and wait for the check mark, X mark, or the condition, and then run with it. Don't just take the deal from the sales tower and just run with it. That's just frustration. Look at the deal. Have a conversation with both your sales managers, sales consultant, and customer prior to doing that deal. And then you have a better idea of where you can go with that deal. Ask the customer questions. Create a seed of doubt in the customer's mind. Make it look really good for the customer. There's oftentimes where customers come in at 84 months and I show them a 72-month payment and they say, you know what? I'll do that. What if a customer says to you, I'm going to keep the car, the wheels fall off 10 years, and it comes in a 60-month payment? What's wrong with showing them 72 months and explain to them you're going to keep the car for 10 years? Now you're going to have this protection at basically the same price you came in at 60 months. If you don't get involved in those deals early, if you don't ask the customer questions prior to you giving a menu presentation, then you don't have that leverage. Quite frankly, the customer's not going to listen to you if you don't show concern or you don't give them what I call the DIMTY. Do I matter to you? They get that DIMTY. They feel that they matter to you if you ask them the right questions. And we've gone through those questions a number of times. The old school, how long you plan on keeping the car, how many miles a year you drive. Use the maintenance to get to that point to determine how long the customer is going to keep the car. Most manufacturers will give you 2 to 3 years of free maintenance. Let's set up the maintenance schedule right now. How many miles a year you drive? So I can set up the maintenance schedule properly. And how long you plan on keeping the car. And they say 5 or 6 years. That gives you an opportunity to sell maintenance to extend from the 2 to 3 years, knowing that they're going to keep the car 5 years. That's how you structure deals. That's how you build value when you go to present the products or after you present the products and the customer has some concerns. You're able to say to them, but you're going to keep the car for 5 years. Or you're going to keep the car for 7 or 8 years. What's the difference? Finance it for 5 years or 7 years. And if you do decide to pay the car off early, you're going to get a pro rata refund. At least you'll have the coverage for the whole time. Structuring deals is an art. And it's like there's a talent in structuring deals. You got to look at deals and you got to try to restructure these deals and have these conversations with your customer. And that's how you develop the skill to structure more and more deals. Knowing your lender's niches is important as well. And not throwing deals over to 7 or 8 lenders. Know your lender's niche so that you're able to call them back and talk about restructuring that deal. You look at subprime deals as stipulations. Stipulations can't be broken. Those are the stips. That's the only way they're going to take the deal. But when you look at regular finance deals, A, B, and sometimes C tiers, there's guidelines. Guidelines aren't meant to be broken, but they're all only guidelines. And you can have conversations with the bank, and you can restructure deals with the bank, and you can get concessions on guidelines. And that's something you have to remember as an F&I manager. And you make those attempts to restructure the deal, or you get concessions. And now you learn what the lender is willing to do. Those are the niches I'm talking about. And that's how you structure deals. So don't be the type of F&I manager that just takes a deal and run with it, regardless of whether you submit the deal over the finance portal or the desk does. Get involved in those deals early. Restructure those deals. Have conversations with your sales managers. Give them advice. Give them direction. Don't let them give you direction. After all, F&I managers are the subject matter experts when it comes to the finance department. You form a collaboration when you get involved in deals early between your sales staff, your management staff, and yourself, and accounting. That's what great dealerships do. They strive on collaboration, conversations about the deal. So the basic fundamentals of great structure in deals all starts in the showroom floor by disallowing or training our sales staff to stay off those what I call dumb questions or stupid questions. How much you want to spend a month, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? Do you want to lease, finance, or pay cash? When sales consultants ask those questions as part of the needs assessment, it disallows the sales tower or the dealership itself to start the structure. Because now we're starting the structure from the customer's request. I know what you're thinking. No, we don't do it that way. We'll give them the payment anyway. But I want you to think about something. If you're that customer sitting there and the sales consultant says how much you want to spend a month and you say $300 and a deal comes out at $750 with zero money down for 84 months, what are you thinking when you have done all this research already before you even got to the dealership? I want you to think about where the customer's journey starts. It starts online. And every single portal they go to online. All they got to do is Google Chevy Camaro, Volkswagen Jetta, and they get to this website. And on that website, it has a payment, and it has amount down, and it has a finance calculator, and it has let's look at your trade value, and it has ways to get their payoff. And they structure their own deal 80% of the time before they even contact the dealership. And they get in touch with the dealership, and the sales consultant says how much you want to spend them on. And they say $300. I want you to think about this. When a sales consultant does a good job of landing a customer on a car, and that's the car that they want, they're somewhat interested in, it's not a matter of what they want to do now. It's a matter of what they can and will do. So as a finance manager, as a sales manager, we got to go out and talk to that customer and say to that customer, I know you want this car. Now, what are you willing to do to get into it? Because this is what we're willing to do to get you close to the payment that you want to be at, or you can be at. What can and will you do? Those are the questions that we should be loading our sales consultants' lips with once they land the customer on the car. And you, as an F&I manager, need to get involved in those deals early and look at the deal, have that conversation with the customer so that you have the ability and you're empowered to restructure that deal to best suit both you, the dealership, and the customer. After all, we're in it for the maximum money, and we're in it for customer satisfaction. And the best way to satisfy a customer is to give them the Dimpty. Do I matter to you? And ask those questions and show them alternative ways to get into that car, and you're going to have a happy customer and you're going to maximize your gross. If you like what you heard, all you got to do is visit prodprep.com and take a free test drive. Until next time, go get them.